jump over to catch up with the developed countries.
I deal mainly in anecdotes. And one of the stories, a friend of mine was the president of Novartis, the giant Swiss pharmaceutical company.
Yes.
And one day he called his board together and he said, I would like to build a state-of-the-art laboratory in Africa. And I think it was Nigeria, but I'm not sure. And 2 years later, his team came back and said, well, Mr. President, we've got the thing, let's all go, we get into our corporate jet and we fly down to see it. And he walked in and he said, close it. I don't want to see this. Because what they had done is they had duplicated a Swiss state-of-the-art laboratory. Yeah. He said, I want an African state-of-the-art. I want to get the information, the ideas, the objectives, the goals from the African scientists. I don't want to make a clone.
Yeah.
And I think this is so important, and this is, we are coming from and I come from a colony called Canada, and Canada was a colony, and really a colony that was abused by the colonial powers, and is now being abused by other colonial powers who are not doing it so much with soldiers, although they would like to. But we have to get away from this mentality that we have the good guys who have all the ideas, the paternalistic side. And unfortunately, this is all men. This is one of the few programs I've been on that's all men. So we have to get away from that and start ensuring that everybody is participating and that we're able to capture the valuable ideas. And I don't think that a guy, and I spent 30 years of my life in the automotive industry, I don't think any of the people there, including my great friend, the chairman, who was one of the great open-minded thinkers of the world, had thought, gee, Africa might have some better ways to help people move.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and that type of, in a way, humility, but in the other sense, perfect logic is what we're missing.
Absolutely. Richard, coming back to UNEA 6, this year's assembly will see and spotlight the work of multilateral environmental agreements. Why are they important to addressing environmental issues?
Very, very important. You talk about the Kunming-Montreal biodiversity framework, which in 2022. Yes, December was adopted. Before that, in December 2015, the Paris Climate Change Agreement came into force. And before that, we have the Montreal Protocol, and we have the Convention on Biological Diversity 40 years after its adoption. So there is no absence of multilateral environmental agreements. And what the panelists have all alluded to here is the aspect of silos. Because we will not be able to implement and drive climate action while we are not working at the same time to address pollution and to address biodiversity loss. And therefore, the UN Environment Assembly discussion now is how do we create synergies and integrated approaches towards driving transformational development. Mm-hmm. And a practical example here is wastewater. Over 50% of wastewater globally gets into our river bodies, mm-hmm. into our seas, into our oceans. And it's not just polluting and causing eutrophication and killing our aquatic life, but wastewater also emit what is called methane. And methane is a greenhouse gas that is 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide, which then means that if we can be able to address wastewater, we will indirectly be addressing climate change. We will be addressing biodiversity loss, which when the wastewater gets into our river bodies, it kills aquatic life, our fish. It kills these aquatic life that is actually dependent on by millions. But if we are able to apply solutions in turning this wastewater into an opportunity, into biogas that can be able to replace the unclean cooking that is actually killing millions of people across the world, and especially in the African continent, where we have 900,000 Africans who are depending on unclean cooking, then we'll be addressing a problem of air pollution, we're addressing a problem of water pollution, and that wastewater again can actually be converted to biofertilizer that will replace the chemicalized fertilizer that is disrupting not just our soil but leaching to impact our aquatic life. And this will create opportunities for the young people, because we're speaking at a time in which over 30% of the entire world, between 30 to 50% of the entire world's population is under the age of 30. In the African continent, over 70% of the entire population is under the age of 25 years. It then means that the discussion on youth unemployment should actually become a discussion on youth solutions and opportunities within addressing environmental solutions in a synergistic way, not in a silo approach way. And therefore, the multilateral environmental agreement implementing the Kunming Montreal Biodiversity Framework will address climate change. It will address pollution. Implementing climate action should address biodiversity loss and should address pollution. And so that synergistic approach, leveraging multilateral environmental agreements that I've already mentioned, is actually the best way to move forward. Because let's not forget, over 50% of the entire global GDP is derived from nature. But yet, in December last year, the United Nations Environment Program released a report which was titled Finance for Nature, that showed that $7 trillion is actually invested in approaches that work against nature, not with nature, and only $200 million are invested in what is called nature positive solutions.